Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. I'm about to get started. We're just going to record and then we'll begin in 1 second. Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to get this session going. My name is Gabriela Jurasek, and I'm the Assistant Commissioner with Community and Digital Engagement with the Department of Planning and Development. And we're excited to welcome you all to the Chicago Works Community Challenge meeting for the Southeast Planning Region. So I want to introduce my colleague as well, Leah.
Hi, it's nice to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Natalia Capani, Leah, and I am with the Mayor's Office helping Gabby on this initiative. Thank you.
Great, thank you all. And so we're going to do a short overview of the Chicago Works Community Challenge first. And then we're going to invite each of the presenting teams to do a short presentation, and we'll also have a Q&A after each of their presentations. And then we'll wrap up at the end and take a few more questions in case you have anything else that comes up. So again, welcome to tonight's meeting. The Chicago Works Community Challenge is a $10 million community investment initiative that was created to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of Mayor Lori E. Lightfoot's administration. So the project funding, the idea is that there will be one project receive up to $1.5 million in each of the city's 7 planning districts. So you can see on this map on the side, there are 7 planning districts that the city has been split into so that our Department of Planning and Development can kind of more do much more targeted planning for each of the regions. Each of these projects that are part of the presentation tonight were community identified enhancements to either public park spaces, to public libraries, schools, or residentially zoned city-owned vacant lots. So the funding source for this project is from the Chicago Works Capital Plan. And each of these projects were selected by a citywide evaluation committee based on reviews of each project's viability, the needs of the community, the potential impact the project could have on the community, in addition to other criteria. So the timeline for this is that 7 of these funded projects will be announced by the end of the year. And the goal is to ensure projects break ground or are completed by the 4th quarter of 2022. So, and just to recap, we'll get into a little bit more specifics. This is targeted on what we're calling kind of infrastructure projects. So just a recap of our timeline so far, the application for the Chicago Works Community Challenge was launched on June 1st of this year. On the 9th, we held a public webinar where anyone could come and learn about how this process would work, and then hopefully develop some ideas that they could submit. We convened an internal evaluation committee of our city and sister agency experts over the summer. And then on August 30th, that was the application deadline for this project. And since then, we have been screening each of these projects based on their eligibility, which we'll get into a little bit more in the next few slides. We met with each of the evaluation committee members, and we call a consensus meeting where the 3 semifinalists that you're going to read about as we continue were selected. And then we announced the semifinalists on October 14th, just a few weeks ago. So we are right now in this community engagement phase, when we have meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays through November 9th. Then in November, we're going to reconvene our selection committee. And then by December 2021, we're hoping to announce the 7 selected projects. So of the projects that all the submissions that we received, there were about 500 submissions. Of those 500, 239 were considered eligible for this type of assessment. And we had them kind of divided between the 7 planning regions. As you can see, we had a large number from the Southeast region, followed by the West, the far South, North, Northwest, Central, and finally the Southwest. Each of the project types that we received, the most we received were for vacant lot projects, that followed by park district improvements, improvements to Chicago public schools, and then the Chicago public libraries as well. So we had 48 out of 50 wards represented in all these applications. And as we discussed, vacant lots and parks properties had the largest number total of submissions. Moving on. So the funding eligibility requirements behind this are, each of these projects is part of an infrastructure project. So we consider them brick and mortar expenses. Examples of these would be playground equipment, park path replacements, field house improvements, or library space modernizations. Ineligible costs for this are anything related to programming or equipment-based expenses. So examples of that would be computers or furniture, or a programming expense would be something like, art class staff to, conduct art activities in these areas. So this is purely focused on infrastructure. Each of the reviewers that we solicited through this process on the evaluation committees scored each of the projects on several criteria. So the first one was, is this property within the purview of the department that you're working on? So libraries, Department of Planning and Development for vacant lots, Park District, or Chicago Public Schools. Would the project be financially feasible? So, any of these projects could incur up to $1.5 million of expenses. And would the projects, the requests that are part of this, be bond eligible, which that means that they could be funded from the Chicago Works funding source. We looked at whether the projects were feasible on the site, or if there were any barriers to development on the site. We thought about design feasibility. Would these projects be what we call meet design excellence goals? So would they enhance the aesthetics of the area? Operationally, could this be managed? So, if we're talking about a park district location, we need to make sure that the park district is able to staff the place that this project would be placing. If there were additional cleanup that needed to be done in the area, how would that be managed? And then we asked qualitative comments. So would this project be considered a strong addition to your department or agency's 2022 pipeline? We also had members of our evaluation committee from the mayor's office. They were looking at how complete were the applications. Did they solicit community input? Was this idea socialized within the community, and the community supported each of the projects? Would this project activate the neighborhood in some way? So how would this project lead to greater engagement or catalyze similar types of projects in the area? And then finally, would it be heavily utilized by the public? So would it get a lot of foot traffic and folks enjoying this specific location or project? So we have 3 semifinalists for the Southeast District, which are 2 parks and a vacant lot project. And so what we're going to do next is that we're going to do a short overview of each of the projects, and then I'm going to invite the teams for each of them onto this side of the webinar, and they can do a short presentation on their project and ideas. So the first team up is going to be the vacant lot project at 7302 South Dante. This project wants to create a community garden in a pocket town vacant lot. The properties being requested are 2 vacant lots in the 60619 area code on the corner of 73rd and Dante. So the proposed project scope would be for a community healing garden to create an open space where members of the community can engage in the healing benefits of gardening. The objective is to assist in the reduction of stress, depression, and anxiety that is caused by ongoing violence in the area. So this project is actually the only vacant lot project that is a semi-finalist. And it would also require partnering with a nonprofit organization called Neighbor Space to build out the park space, maintain the garden. And this would be bond eligible for decorative plants, not necessarily for edible plants. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen momentarily. And if the team members who propose this project would like to raise their hands in the webinar, I will pull you into this side of the webinar to do your part of the presentation.
And while Gabby is working on that, one thing I forgot to mention at the top of the webinar, if you have any questions specific to the proposals or generally about the process, please include those in the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. I'll also be monitoring the chat, but it'll be easier to see questions and filter through them in the Q&A box. So thank you so much.
Okay, it looks like LaDonna C. Hall, I'm trying to promote you to a panelist so that you can discuss the project. Oh, it looks like you turned down, or was there another person who was part of this project that's in attendance today? Oh, 1K. Try again. Great. Looks like she'll be joining us momentarily. Hello?
Can you see me?
I can't see you. We can hear you.
Okay. Is there a way I can start my video? Okay.
Yes. Great.
How you guys doing? How are you?
Great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I was so surprised that our little project got selected for this. So it's very exciting, especially when I grew up in the South Shore area. So this is really amazing. I just want to talk about our project. Recently, I moved into the community, and I just thought it was a lovely community. And the only thing that I had noticed about the community is that there was a lot of gun violence in this area, which was surprising to me because the area looked so quiet. And so I had started a small smart garden in my own space, and the community just loved it. And we had so many vacant lots owned by the city next to us, and it was just like something that kind of brought us all together. I just noticed that this particular community, they really focused on making sure the community is clean. There's like a man who has been here for years, and he just keeps the whole community up. He also works on this garden himself. I mean, not the garden, but keeping the block itself clean, just out of the kindness of his own heart. And there's a lot of other seniors in the neighborhood that does gardening. They're really excited about projects like these. So I chose this lot because this lot was being used for a lot of gun violence, where people would come in the community. It was a particular homes, and guys would just come through, the perpetrators would just come through this block. I want to show you guys a picture if I could, I don't know how to send it, but how to show the picture. But there's an area where they can just come on the lot, come through the lot and just cut through the lot if they had done several daytime shootings, and it was no blockage for them not to have an area where they could come through. And so this lot, these vacant lots was just giving them so much access to run through it, come and do whatever type of gun violence things they were going to do. And these were happening in broad daylight. In fact, the person upstairs from me, her husband and son was killed on the same block. So we just thought it would be a good idea to kind of block off some of these areas, create a garden space to beautify the area, just to, so the, just perpetrators wouldn't just be able to have that free run and make it straight to the alley. And by the time the police comes, it's like you can't even find no way to catch these people because of the access that they have with these lots. So we were proposing that this lot would help to reduce the number of violent gun violence being done in this area, and also kind of brings some healing to the community. This community has been through a lot with just where it's located, the violence that's going on, and they're also trying to really build this community up because, we have the Obama Library coming not too far away from us, and we just think that this would be a great addition to kind of, use the lot, make improvements and reduce the violence in this community, or people having access to get away after community of violent crime. So that's how we kind of envisioned this space being able to be used. And I don't know if I can show you guys the pictures that we have. Is there a way to show them? Let me see.
Yeah, you should have a little arrow at the bottom of your screen, a green arrow that says share screen, and then you can show what is on your screen.
Okay, I can show 1 minute. Well, I can show from here. Hold on, let me open it. Well, I guess I can show this area. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I don't know if you all can see my screen. However, this area here is where a lot of the gun violence happens. And so this is where they kind of run through, hopping over fences, getting there. And then you can see in the back, that's the alleyway where a lot of the, they just can get away from anything that's going on. And so this is the lot in its whole. It's a really beautiful lot. They had new developments over here in the back of it. And, it looks really like it could be used some tender love and care. So that's what we would like to do for this lot in this project. And projects like these, that's owned by the city, we really would rarely get any funding for projects like that. So we were just hoping that, this will be a eligible project that we can actually get funding for, because, we're not a park district, or, we don't have any things that we're just, there's funding allocated for projects like this. So that's why we were really excited, and the community is really geeked about it as well. So, that's pretty much it for us. Just want to kind of just save lives this summer, I guess. Or just create spaces and heal our community and the communities around it. And that's it.
Thank you so much. I think that's, such a compelling story, and would be, a great use of the space. I did talk to our vacant lot team, and there are 2 city-owned lots there. And I guess the one on the corner is actually technically privately owned. So there's just one of the things that would be part of this process would be kind of working out the positioning of how the community garden works, and which spaces could be part of it. But there are definitely 2 city-owned lots right on that location. So it is it would work in that regard. And part of this would also be, as I mentioned, partnering with Neighbor Space for the maintenance of the lot and kind of building it up and conceptualizing it.
Oh, wow, that would be awesome. I'm familiar with them and some of their work. And I think there's a couple of them that I've seen so far that they've done some great jobs. They are awesome. So that would be exciting for this neighborhood, really would. So I'm excited.
Great. Did we have any questions related to this project?
We have two questions that are more about the general process, which we will get to at the end. None right now about this specific project. I'll maybe give people another 30 seconds to input any questions they might have. You're getting some good support in the chat, so that's always nice to see as well.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this project. I moved around here. I lived downtown for so many years, and then when I came and I wanted to come and like really heal a community, and I was like, I was excited about this. Like, oh, this is the opportunity.
So one question came up, outside of NeighborSpace, what are organizations that will in the community that will take ownership of this garden?
Well, we spoke with, we have our alderman. I worked with the alderman last year because I was trying to get a lot that was next door to me. And we worked with the alderman. So they have set me up with a mentor that has done this, a project similar to this. So they kind of support some of the work, like making sure that we have the mentorship, giving us the resources that we'll just have to apply for ourselves and just working with other groups. But it'll basically be just us in the community pitching in, doing what we can. But like, no, we haven't found like really any, real funding to just go in and do it ourselves. But we just keep it clean. And we would, I don't think people would mind pitching in. It's just that, we don't own it, and we wouldn't want to, put too much on something that we don't own. We didn't want to, I guess, bother the area.
Yeah. And then, sorry, go ahead, Gabby.
And I believe, with NeighborSpace, they kind of helped you set up a structure, and then it kind of becomes a voluntary process where, residents who are nearby could sign up to be part of the cleaning and gardening kind of maintenance of the location. So that it would be kind of a sustained relationship yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a group that comes out now that cleans the lot. I'm not sure about who that group is, but I can find out who that group is. And I have a non-for-profit, and we link up with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they always doing volunteer projects. So we will be very well staffed and have the volunteers. We'll just need just the landscape done, and we have we'll be able to get the tools. I think there's a water pump that we need. We're right there. There's a water pump we need, and I think we can get the purchase of that. And we'll be able to water whatever we have. So that's it's very sustainable for us to get completed. It's just having the start of it and, access to the lot.
Yep. A few more quick questions. So one person asked what alderman and ward, I believe it is Ward 8 with Alderman Harris.
Yes, yes.
So that, and then two other questions. One, is there an opportunity to involve local artists? And then the second, I'll give you both of them now, is to tell us more about the Hood Foundation.
Oh, okay. The artist, definitely artists will be promoted in this project. In fact, there's an artist, Thasterius Gates. He's in the area, and he has set up several different, he's an artist. I think he won the MacArthur Award recently, which was a $500,000 award in probably a little bit further from here. He won an award doing similar neighborhood projects. So I would love to work with him as well. He also owned the land bank over on Stony Island, which he purchased from the city for $1, turned it into a very beautiful area. So there's a lot of artists in the area that's already, and I think there's an art residency coming in the area he'll be creating as well. So there's a lot of artists already in the area, and if anyone's interested, they're definitely welcome. From around the area, they would definitely be invited to participate in this project. And the Hood Foundation, it's a non-for-profit that was started in 2011. I started it because I'm a therapist by trade, and I wanted to do more community healing projects or bigger projects far as like population health, that's what the keyword is now. As far as helping, looking at projects and what would be beneficial to a community. So probably a couple of years ago, we were really doing like mainly art projects. We were doing healing art projects. I think I did like a couple of pop-ups in River North on a river walk. And these were fundraiser pop-ups, but they were for health and wellness, just for people who were just having a stressful day and they just needed to paint. So we look at different projects in different areas. We did a community career fair for women that were had mental illnesses, because that was a very sensitive topic. It was hard for getting women with mental illnesses jobs, so we were able to get them jobs that were reasonable and that was easier for them to manage. That was very successful, and we've done like mainly art projects. We do referrals for mental health. We do a lot of depression screenings when we do projects. So we do depression screenings, and we refer people who need assistance with depression to a community health center that we partnered with. So we do projects specifically for that community or the population. And we've been around for, not long. We're still a little new, but we're doing it project by project. And so we've seen a gardening as for this community as a very, a very good opportunity for them to start healing and working on themselves, especially reducing the depression and anxiety, which is going on. A lot of people don't come outside anymore because there's no parks really in this. There's one park is across the street in Stony, but there's no areas like specifically around here. But they're doing a lot of things, but it's nothing for the community. Like I seen a movie being shot over there on the next block, but it's not beneficial to the community. So that's what our project does. It's an acronym for helping others overcome difficulties. And it was something that was just created, just inspired by God, I'll say. Like God put it on my spirit. So I just followed through and try to do the best that I can to get people involved and do projects like these to, help more people heal. So this healing is really important.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. I don't see any more questions. So for this project, I think especially in the interest of time, we'll move to the next one, Gabby.
Yeah, thank you
so much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to send you back to the regular part of the webinar, and then we'll move to the next group.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen momentarily so that we can introduce the next project. The next one is the South Shore Cultural Center facility and program enhancements. So the South Shore, the property is the South Shore Cultural Center at 7059 South Shore Drive. This project came from one individual, not a full sponsoring organization. So the areas that they're seeking for improvement are the South Shore Cultural Center's Robeson Theater Stage, could be augmented to better accommodate a variety of performances and allow for larger theater productions. The outdoor stage needs to be renovated. So a little bit of detail on that is the Robeson Theater Stage and renovate the outdoor stage with new canopy, possibly lighting and audio. We have to check on whether those specifically are bond eligible, and then the mention here about the programming upgrades, those would not be paid for by this project, but because this is like a park district facility, if it has an improved space, that means that it could bring in enhanced programming out of the park district's expenses. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then if the individual who raise your hand who's working on this project, I can pull you in. Okay, second. It's Alyssa. able to join. Michelle. Oops. Hello, Michelle. Was this your project that you proposed?
Yes, it was.
Great. And so you have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Gabriella. And is it Natalia? Great. Well, good evening, South Shore and Southeast region neighbors. I am excited to be with you this evening to advocate for the South Shore Cultural Center, one of the premier assets in our community, a hallmark, a landmark, an architectural jewel with the potential to be a much more central character in rewriting and reframing the far too often negative narrative that is usually told about our neighborhood if it were to benefit from the Chicago Works program investment. And so I submitted this application, but I didn't do it in isolation. I know there were a couple of other people who were also thinking about and advocating for the South Shore Cultural Center. So I too was really surprised that mine got selected when I know that there were other proposals, but I'm happy to represent, as it were. And so when I think about the improvements, as you have already said, Gabriella, the first one that comes to mind is indeed that Paul Robeson Theater stage and that beautiful ballroom setting that certainly could be augmented to better accommodate a variety of uses and performances, to allow sets for theater productions, for example, by the resident South Shore Opera Company and other resident companies. I think there is a dance company in residence and just other producers in the community. But even before the Robeson stage, the one thing that the Cultural Center needs is, quite frankly, signage that informs and invites the community to enter and participate in the space and the activities that take place therein. So just the kind of signage that would do that outside the building and within the building. But back to the Paul Robeson stage, specifically the stage could be kind of lowered. And I did speak to a neighbor, an expert who is a theater director. He is a South Shore resident. I certainly hope he's on the meeting tonight because I told him about it. He's a director at the Goodman Theater, and he has worked with the opera company in that space. And so I consulted him for his thinking, and his idea was that the stage, which I'm sure when it was a cultural, when it was the country club, was built for presentations and performances at a time that is now, quite frankly, bygone. And so it needs to be lowered to half its current height. As you've already said, it needs a lighting grid and sound system, and whether those are eligible expenses, the infrastructure that would support that, whether it's the wiring and whatever kind of adjustments that would need to be made to the ceiling and whatever walls that might be impacted. And certainly additional dressing rooms backstage would certainly help for users in that space. I know that out of the re-center process last year, there was a lower level space that was made into a black box theater in kind of a DIY effort by community members. It needs to be completed with lighting and sound and signage, again, installed in the building so that audiences and other users can easily find it. As I've said already, fixtures and directional signage to rooms and spaces in the facility so folks aren't having to kind of wander around And it's a beautiful place to wander, but it would be great to just have something that points you to where a program or event is located, especially when multiple activities are taking place. I am certainly going to advocate for upgraded and additional women's bathrooms on the first floor. Those would certainly be helpful, especially the upgraded part. There has been for a number of years, a first floor restaurant space that could be upgraded for more dining options, particularly, and when I say more, but that are coordinated with the programming in the building. It was crazy to me that you'd go there for a program like a jazz concert and the restaurant space isn't open. And just, that just needs to be much, much more thoughtful and mindful. And I think it would serve to activate and make the center, which is supposed to be, a hub, just more so of that, whenever there were concerts or film screenings or, whether they're theater or opera or dance performances taking place in the building. Enhanced fixtures and lighting in the gallery space for art exhibitions. I can remember coming to opening events, public events that were part of art exhibitions that would open there, and they would rival anything that would take place in the downtown cultural center or in a museum. And people from the community, I can remember seeing neighbors who I hadn't seen in years who would show up at those. And that's all just kind of evaporated. And then I know that the second floor is full of meeting rooms. So wiring upgrades that would accommodate modern technology like Wi-Fi and screens and monitors in those rooms, because I imagine that that may or may not have been done, and certainly not from the original infrastructure or even from the conversion. Technology is just, as we're experiencing tonight, just much more a part of not only public but even private programming that is taking place, so that those rooms can better accommodate that kind of use. And then, as you said already, outdoors, improving that amphitheater space that is adjacent to the Robeson Theater. Many people may not even be aware that it exists because it's never used, and it's probably never used because it's in such poor condition. So again, to renovate that space and then activate it for theater, for readings, for music, for activities for kids and teens and families. Because just like the previous speaker said, we don't have a lot of spaces that are conducive to that. And so there's room to have that kind of space and place and energy taking place at the South Shore Cultural Center. And then it would be phenomenal to have some kind of pavilion stage, whether it is a permanent one or a temporary one, for outdoor concerts like we used to enjoy for the 2-day South Shore Jazz Festival, as well as in more recent years, the music festival that is sponsored by Alderman Hairston. I can just remember I am a native Chicagoan and a lifelong South Sider. I didn't grow up in South Shore, but I've now lived here for longer than the neighborhood I grew up in, and I grew up in Chatham long before the pandemic. And I realized the pandemic has had, a really turned everything upside on its head effect on, the spaces and the uses of park district facilities, but just that the quantity and variety of programming in the cultural center has decreased to nearly the point of being non-existent. As I've alluded to in some of the points I made, there was a robust schedule. And I can remember not only the exhibitions with the public openings, but I can remember salsa classes that culminated in parties with live music concerts by the Jazz Institute. I've already spoken about the South Shore Jazz Festival. And the center has now become almost exclusively this rental facility for private events in a space that is supported by taxpayer dollars. And if other communities like Lincoln Park can have theater on the lake that enjoyed a $6 million renovation, not construction, neighbors, renovation, we're speaking, and a 330-seat theater with a full restaurant, a patio, and event spaces, then certainly the South Shore Cultural Center can be upgraded, renovated, programmed, and activated to bring those kinds of amenities to our neighborhood, especially in a place that was claimed by the community to be a cultural center. I was in a meeting earlier this week where the city plans to present night out in the parks and summer dance programs. The South Shore Cultural Center should be on the list for those. And so, this is not to take away from the forthcoming developments at 71st and Jeffrey. I'm really excited about it. This is not to take away from the quarry on 75th Street, where I have been many times and I enjoy. Other communities can have multiple spaces, in some cases within feet or a block from each other. Nobody says that's too much. They all manage to, thrive. And South Shore, I think, is equally deserving. And I think with them that we can support them as well. So, there's a saying that says you have not because you ask not. So I am here to advocate for and ask for the South Shore Cultural Center.
Thank you.
And that's it.
We have one quick question. Michelle, have you ever worked with the South Shore Cultural Center Park Advisory Council?
I actually have. I've attended a number of Park Advisory Council members. I remember seeing a couple of members in those re-center meetings. I spoke to a member not too long ago about this very meeting. So I certainly hope that they are in the room. When I think about who else I had in mind when I wrote about this project, they were certainly one. I fully expected them to have their own application, quite frankly. And so I would see them as being hopefully fully in support of these kinds of, and maybe even closer to, the actual features or dimensions of these kinds of improvements that are really needed.
Great, thank you so much. That's the only specific question. So I think we'll save some of the other ones that are more general for the end.
Thank you. And I actually have fond memories of taking piano recitals at the South Shore Country Club back in, the early 90s when I was in Suzuki courses. So it is a wonderful facility, and we'll, share. I just want to reiterate that, only one of the projects from these semifinalists is going to be selected, but they have all been identified as high priority kind of pipeline projects that, we're hoping that when the Park District or Department of Planning Development or another, sister agency is able, can take on some of these as well. So just wanted to reiterate that for all of the semifinalists that are here tonight as well. So thank you so much. And I'm going to send you back into the webinar. 1 second. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen again so we can do an intro for the next project. So the third project tonight is looking at renovating the Racket courts at Rainbow Beach. So the property is Rainbow Beach at 3111 East 77th Street. This also came from an individual's idea. The areas that they're looking to improve are the courts used by the handball and racquetball community need repairs and improvements to the court playing area. The clubhouse and the exterior area are needed to have repairs. And these are repairs are not limited to just roof repairs, but also fixing fresh paint and additional plumbing upgrades. And then a few more details. The project scope includes renovations for the racquetball handball courts and clubhouse facility located within the Chicago Park District at Rainbow Beach. These functional spaces need to be updated to continue safely hosting community youth programs. And the project will provide the community with options in mentoring, coaching, and fitness resources. So again, this is for the infrastructure side of that. And it's possible that as this site would potentially be developed a little bit more, additional programming and community options would be available as well. So I'm going to stop and invite over the person who proposed this project into this webinar. I believe this is Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn.
There we are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a presentation to share. That's just a few slides. Okay, so I just hit share screen, correct?
Yes, yep.
How about this screen, I think? Okay. All right. Can everyone see the screens?
Yep.
Okay. All right, there we go. Well, I am too excited to be here this evening to share this program with everyone. And I'm sorry, do you see your picture in the screen as well, in my share screen?
I don't know if you have your camera turned on or not. We can see
Okay.
your name, but not your face.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I present to you Rackets at Rainbow, which is a youth fitness program. And as I sit here and listen to the other presentations, I am compelled to say how impressed I am with the Southeast region as a whole. And I come purely from a space to provide youth who could utilize these spaces that they also talked about. I am passionate about inspiring the next generation and also passionate about Chicago. So in hearing of the opportunity for the Chicago Community Works Challenge, I thought this was a great opportunity to want to address the fears and things that we all face as parents raising children in a big city, but then also looking at the opportunity to use a space which we have appreciated at Rainbow Beach for years to improve and enhance programming that is existingly offered as well, but on the other end of Rainbow Beach. So let me just say really quickly how much of a win-win I think this is for the whole community. And Rainbow Beach is, if people aren't aware, utilized by many youth, kids that are from the community, kids from all over the city. And me being a kid, kind of relatable adult, I do see this. They are very visible to me. I am a current member of the United States Racquetball Association and an active member with the board of directors for the Illinois State Racquetball Association. I am a volunteer coach for the Illinois State Junior Youth Racquetball team and certified under Safe Sport, which is the Olympic governing body that helps us make good decisions in the health and well-being of young athletes. So this speaks to a greater cause. I just want to say Rainbow Beach, the clubhouse, is utilized by a great many people. And it is one of the hidden gems, as mentioned before with South Shore, that there are many hidden gems and many things that are coming in the way of the South Shore area. The racquetball handball courts are further to the north end of Rainbow Beach, but they formally fall under the 7th ward, which is a little different. I believe there are 2 different wards that cover the entire Rainbow Beach area. So falling under Gregory Mitchell's ward, we have a host of events that occur under or behind breathtaking views of the city. So I think it's really a healing thing that happens when you're there. As you can see, we've had resolutions and actually creative arts that have occurred at Rainbow Beach in the past, but this was quite some time ago that these things have occurred. So today I come to you representing a growing community of players and a call to action to heal our community, to heal our city, and to use this space that we've appreciated for years to redirect. Obviously, reasons to make these improvements include a few basic upgrades to the court clubhouse area. And I have a couple of slides that'll show you that actual, the repairs that are needed. We will create a safe space to help maintain the existing community and to create more options for the next generation. The community and youth that do actually use the area now can continue to participate in these fitness events. However, we would like to expand that invitation to more people in the community. That would include adults who potentially could be mentors, but then also looking at the community of youth that are existing in the Chicago Park District. As I mentioned before, on the south end of Rainbow Beach, there is a field house that has programming, but they cover maybe football, soccer. I've seen some volleyball going on, nothing super organized consistently, but this program here can speak to the young athlete. There are many kids that kind of fall through the cracks that maybe don't like basketball, don't find soccer fun, but they might get a kick out of an individual sport like racquetball or handball, which are equally as fast and competitive. And then finally, also keeping Rainbow Beach as a premier location for exposure to outdoor court sports. As I mentioned before, there is a huge community that utilizes it, and I stand on the shoulders of those who have been there before me using that space, and that the next generation deserves to have that opportunity as well. Here are some pictures, and what I say is a very important part, the Rainbow Beach family. And I specifically took these pictures to show you that there is history there. It is a very diverse community, and there are people that come from all over the city to experience this one hidden gem that we brag and boast about across the country. So we have opportunities for people from around all of the United States to come over, and they're interested in seeing what Chicago has to offer, and they want to be a part of what we're doing here. I also included that we address the military adaptive court sports. So we do have through the Racquetball Federation, a gentleman, and he's there, a lieutenant, who works with military veterans and disabled veterans. So they actually teach racquetball to veterans and people who are in wheelchairs, which speaks to some of the revisions and renovations we want done. So this impact carries over to the future of our community and the Southeast region as well, in the city. Our current clubhouse situation, as you can see, you did mention, Gabriella, the roof is in repair. We want to prevent leaking. And as you can see, our pictures of where the paint is peeling, and we have issues with the lighting, the rust that comes on the doors. As you can see, that is the women's restroom there, and it is rusted out, completely out of order, and plumbing is needed. We are asking to have the old lockers removed and updated with painting inside, and the plumbing needing repair. As you can see there as well, there's a picture of the security windows, which have been tried and tested over the years, the security gate. So in maintaining that space for the community, for the youth, we want to keep it safe. So repairing things like that. Here is a glimpse in the inside locker rooms. If you think of this renovation in layers, it is multi-layered. So we start off with the foundation, which is how I teach my kids. You build a good foundation and we can grow from there. You see that there are exposed pipes. So we need some roof issues addressed. and the painting of the ceiling. The lockers, as you can see, the front of them are old, rusty, dangerous. The chairs, the benches are water damaged, and this is all from things coming through the ceiling. They've tried to do some makeshift repairs on the benches by putting pre-treated wood, which isn't working out very well either. And then finally, some of the exterior, as you can see, I circled, we're at the top, we have some masonry issues. There are pictures of people where we have tournaments, and some of this is weekly use during the summer, which has exploded during the pandemic, of course. We've had an increase in people wanting to play outdoors because they feel safer, and also the fact that it is free. You can come over and use the park whenever you like, and there's a great community. Finally, the outside of the clubhouse that you see down at the bottom, it says we are the 8th wonder of the world. So we're trying to give a little TLC to this 8th wonder. The masonry issues, the bricks, even the beautification of the space that we see in working in conjunction and partnership with like our park advisory committee would really help in terms of beautifying that end of Rainbow Beach. Now, why do we do this? Oftentimes we wonder, and yes, like I said, this is the first step in the foundation for a community that we have been serving for years. As you see, these are all little faces. These are children in the community who wander over frequently. Personal testimony, there are many homeless youth who in the summer are just hang around and they come over and sit and watch us. And we are compelled to just toss them a racket and a ball, and they have a great time utilizing the space. I often invite them to come back. Without a parent there or any way to reconnect with them, they just tend to come back when they know that we're there. If there's a way for me to create a safe space for them to come to, I think we can increase that and improve a lot of the ails that we have going on in our communities. You know, we speak to the garden and needing healing and the violence that goes on there. I would like to try to catch these kids before they get to that point, knowing that, yeah, you know, this may have been tried before, but it's a fresh view. And then there is a focus on partnership. So as you see here, we're working with the schools in the area to bring the kids over so that they have a day where they learn, but then they also walk away with goodies. Some of the people that you see in here, the adults, are mentors and coaches. So not only do they see people that look like them are part of the community, but I am very impressed with our young Black men who step up and be role models and mentor to, you know, young children. And I think it's important for them to have those male role models available to them. In a long-term sense, this coaching and developing the space, doing the renovations at Rainbow Beach, not only will help us lay that foundation, but will exponentially allow us to reach out to many more youth. As you know, coachable children become productive adults. They have more opportunities to learn healthier options to cope with violence. We may not know it, but we all are going through some level of trauma because of what we experience on a day-to-day basis. So as part of that healing, you teach the children how to have better coping skills, burn off some of that energy, but more importantly, providing resources to community organizations. So there are many who don't have the opportunity to have budgets on a day-to-day basis, but they're looking for a solid program that they can offer their kids. You need someone out there who can promote it, but then also provide secondary level education opportunities. So with me being a part of the Illinois State Board and working with United States Racquetball Association, this includes handball as well. And for those of you who are into racket sports, there is squash, which is becoming big with Metro Squash in the area. And I know I saw some people wondering about pickleball. And I'm probably seeing people smile there too. Pickleball is becoming a big rage. They are teaching pickleball to youth on 119th at the Ray Kroc Center. So we're stretching over by 61st and Cottage Grove with a growing a racket sport community. And then you've got pickleball far south. I think that the Southeast region is a unique blend of where we can get racquetball, we can get handball represented, and also highlight what a beautiful location Rainbow Beach is. I think that the mentoring piece to the program is important, and it does build where you may have big brother and big sister organizations or programs, and they say, hey, we don't even know where to go with the kids when we have them. Here is an opportunity to have coaches, certified people to provide guidance and that extra resource. A lack of surrounding funds, budget cuts in schools don't allow for many schools to build their academic programs. So this footwork drills, hand-eye coordination translates to many other sports. And ultimately keeping the kids off the street and engaged with positive adults who want to see them do better, who are genuinely committed to a different view. I know that in a lot of times we operate in bubbles and we forget that there are so many resources at our fingertips. So utilizing the Chicago Park District as a definite resource for kids. I think the same programs are boring to kids, and they get there and they go, oh, another year of basketball, another season of this. Some of them don't like it, and maybe they would gain from doing something different, but that would require those infrastructure renovations to occur, which are expensive, but within budget. And it would definitely make for a safer location for me, myself, a team of coaches or people to mentor and help the youth in the community. We have also been working, as I've said before, I'm a coach with the Illinois State Racquetball Junior team. So I have a host of resources from a scholarship standpoint where children who are involved in the program can have access to other resources. But in looking at a holistic approach, working with the 7th Ward Alderman's office, as you see, United States Racquetball Association, the Handball Association, Outdoor Racquetball, Friends of the Park, our local Park Advisory Council, after school programs and community mentoring programs. These are part of local organizations that have an impact on the community, but they also have children who need direction. So I come from a pure sense of wanting to build up these young children and give them options and opportunity. I would love to have the chance to take the kids that I work with to the cultural center. These are existing gems, to bring them to gardens or even help them plant gardens at Rainbow Beach. So I do believe in the healing of these activities. My personal testimony as I kind of close out is, as I said before, on a weekly basis, we use Rainbow Beach, and that end of Rainbow Beach could use a little TLC. I think in generating that program, generating that enthusiasm from that side of Rainbow Beach can address a lot of the community. The schools that are over there, we have Clayton Powell School that I have reached out to, the Neighborhood Network Alliance, promoting this program and saying, hey, Rainbow Beach has a great space, a safe space, and people who are willing to mentor and help. From a long-term perspective, we have a committee of people who actually currently do work on keeping the area clean, monitoring it, keeping it safe. But we have done many renovations out of our own pockets. So this grant funding would help us get a lot done really quickly and be able to work more in partnership with the police department and other organizations to keep the kids off the street and keep them safe. So I end with one thing is that I tell my kids, your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. So if you guys can help me plant some seeds of benefit in the community, I sure would appreciate it. And I thank you for your time and the opportunity to share my passion with the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A few questions. The first one that is project specific is, have there been fundraisers conducted among the organizations that use the space to help facilitate some of these improvements?
Should I answer first?
Yes, if you're aware of any.
I can speak for my organization. Yes, we have had fundraisers, and the guys who put together personal fundraisers to try to work on the plumbing situation there. For a while, we had to use buckets to flush the toilets. And so we've really gone to the low end of priority. And so I feel like to host children safely, using buckets isn't the option. We did put the money together, though, to privately fix that. But I feel like it is a city property, and if we have the opportunity to improve it, to make it better, that would help. So on our end, yes, we have done things privately, personally.
Great.
Leah, I think you got muted. Are you?
Sorry about that. I think that is the only project specific question that I have. Apologies. I'm also looking at the notes over here. So we can move to program general questions.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much, Carolyn. I'm gonna send you back to the attendee part of the webinar.
Okay, thank you guys so much. And we're excited to make a difference in the community. So thank you.
Thank you. So our first question, with just given the bulk of submissions from the Southeast region, why were all the finalists from South Shore? And so that's a great question. It's a combination of factors that went into our decision. Ultimately, those evaluation scores that Gabby mentioned at the beginning, we used those in each of the 7 regions. We were hoping to have a finalist in each, 3 semifinalists in each region, 1 finalist in each region, to make sure that we spread the money across the whole city. In the Southeast region, we took the top scores that were also financially feasible and bond eligible. So these represent the highest scored projects that fit within those financial feasibility constraints. While they are all in South Shore, they do represent 3 different wards within the Southeast area. So that was also important to us. Gabby, I don't know if you have any other comments on that.
Yeah, I think, one of the things going through this process, particularly related to kind of vacant lot projects, was that a lot of the submissions that came in were not necessarily for city-owned vacant land that is residentially zoned, which was kind of a key requirement of this project. So, we had our team had to do a major overview just to make sure that it fit within the parameters of the Chicago Works Community Challenge, so that we're able to allocate the funds related to this. The other side of it too is that, so the grant it's kind of like a bit of a misnomer, because the way that this funding is working is that the up to the $1.5 million would be going to the sister agencies, so the Chicago Park District for 2 of these examples, or to Department of Planning and Development, which would then work with, basically NeighborSpace becomes somewhat of a delegate agency to kind of execute the work in that space. So the funds would still go through all of the city to maintain them. And so that was kind of like an important piece, that we were able to select projects that fit within those parameters. There were a lot of really wonderful projects that we also saw that were just not achievable for the up to the $1.5 million. There were some really extraordinary ideas, but they were looking more like $5 or $10 million projects that at this point, we were not able to take on. But part of this exercise was also to see what the community wanted and needed. And so, we had really very high up officials who were part of the, basically experts in their field, with the Chicago Park District, with the libraries, with all of them reviewing these applications. And, they were really super impressed with these specific projects. And I think we saw that in all of these presentations, and the passion that really went in from each of the semifinalists tonight. So I think that what we kind of came down to was these were 3 just super compelling projects that we were excited to bring forth to the community.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. This kind of gets to what you were already talking about, Gabby, but could you speak to community organization participation on the evaluation committee, and maybe also introduce that survey?
Yeah, so because this process, we were looking at so many factors, as I mentioned, like, whether something could be achieved for, $1.5 million. Is it possible to execute it with the current staffing that the members of the city have? It would have been very difficult for members of the general public to be involved in that, especially since we were reviewing over 200 applications. It was quite a lift internally for us to allocate the time and resource to this. So part of that is that we are holding these meetings now for the semifinalists. So basically, our evaluation group kind of whittled down to what we thought were the best projects within each region. And we wanted to bring them to the community to gather your input at this point in terms of what you think is the most beneficial to the Southeast region. So as part of this process, tomorrow morning, you can actually go right now if you really felt like you wanted to go into it. We have a community survey. Let me go and share my screen actually a little bit more. This will give you a little bit more information. So this next step is that we want your input as part of this final selection process. There's going to be a post-meeting survey that you can go to chicago.gov/ChicagoWorksChallenge tonight, or I will also be sending out an email tomorrow morning to all of the people who registered to attend tonight. And the survey is going to ask for your input on the following kind of scoring criteria for each project. So we were asking, would the project lead to greater community activation? Does it make the area safer? Is it going to be an asset for your community? Will it catalyze other activities in the area? And then kind of following up to that is, would this project be heavily utilized by the public? So will it get a lot of foot traffic and usability out of it? So there's also space within these surveys to provide additional comments on all of the projects. So, there's kind of some scoring, part, and then there's also the open response section. And we really want you to share these surveys, kind of far and wide with members of your community to kind of gather all this info. We will also be, this is being streamed right now live on live on YouTube. And so we'll be sharing a link to access that video. So anyone who wasn't able to join us tonight for this meeting can also watch it on YouTube whenever they're available to.
Thank you so much. And I'll just answer, I think, the last two questions quickly. First one, can the Parks Department's budget address some of the needed repairs? So I think Gabby alluded to this. All of these projects are now kind of in the departmental pipelines. They know that these are areas of concern within the community, and they'll definitely keep an eye out for these projects as they're going through their regular project assessment and maintenance. Gabby, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And then the last question that I see here, it appears that all the projects could come in under 1.5 million. Is there a way to look at multiple? I think we are anticipating awarding one project. All of these are very deserving of as much money as they can get. And we are trying to focus on one per region and really give that the amount of attention and TLC that it deserves. So that kind of anticipating 7 projects across the city, 1 in each region.
Yeah, and adding on to that, as we were saying, since we're kind of considering these higher profile, priority pipeline projects, there is a possibility that some of the work may be able to be accomplished at some point in the near future, even though it may not become the finalist for this region at the end of this process.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's it for questions. So we just want to thank you all for joining us. Again, apologies for our Zoom hiccup earlier and the delay to our start, but we're just really happy to be able to be with you tonight. And I think
We're just excited to hear what you and your community members and neighbors think of all of these projects. So tomorrow, I'll send you all a reminder email, and please feel free to forward it along to anyone you think might be interested in learning more about this challenge. So thank you again to all the semifinalists. We really appreciate your passion for all of these projects, and we look forward to talking to all of you again soon. Thank you.